Isaiah. This will be part one, and we're going to start here pretty soon. I just thought I'd do a little bit of an introduction here on um, Isaiah. The longer prophets have more text in them from just that prophet. So in here, it's going to have a few things that are different. We're going to have words from kings from different periods of time other than Isaiah, and I'll point that out as well. But what I did notice that I thought was unique was Isaiah has a text that he's going to talk to Yah, who is Jesus, and he is also going to give those people a message in the future. And other prophets like Jeremiah, they had put other comments of what happened after they gave a prophecy. So Isaiah is going to be just a little bit different, but if I can do this right, I should be able to pull up the starting screen and go right here. Oops. Yep. I usually try to cover that up, that webcam. All right. I don't know if I need both of these lights on here. Let me see. Look with just one, because it is bright in here. Okay. That's good enough for me down here in the corner. Okay. I was going to say, yes, up in the top here above are the reasons why. So I'm just going to go through the text on what I did for correction and other things that I feel are important when I'm doing this. So if I find something other than those reasons, I'll list it, but I don't need to go through and tell you why I get rid of all the text. But here, we're going to note right off the bat that we have a king that does not exist. So let me show you the king's timeline. Now, this king's timeline is wrong. I noticed that these 50 years, it doesn't have that. This is 35 years. This should be way down here. But I did find an error here. Been quite a few years since I've made this, so I've got to correct it. But the text is speaking about these two kings here, is the time of Isaiah. Now, what I want you to notice, because I'm going to be going through the text, that this last king for all these tribal lands, or the tribes' lands, um, this is going to speak to this falling of the king. Isaiah is not going to be talking directly to the kings here. He's going to be talking to this king over here. And then you'll see that there's going to be no king. And then there's this guy that comes along that he becomes a king for Israel, but he's only over these three lands, which are the last of the lands. Let me see here. Do I have... here is... Oops. I want this. Which are these three here. Okay. So other than that, let's start here with the text and see how far I can get. This isn't supposed to be here. This isn't supposed to be here. Okay. But like I said, this king is not here. He never exists. There's not enough of a story anywhere in the text that says this is the king and he did this. In fact, I think there's only one other king that has just a small little text that says he was there, and then there's not much of them. A couple of them only were kings for like 2 years, so those didn't have much of a history or being told. When it's listed here, heavens and earth are to hear. Well, earth can't hear, but everyone is to hear. So listen, everyone. YV speaks to his nation, not his sons, because when it says he reared them up and brought them up, we have to include women. So the real correct word here is nation. When I put these dots here, it means this is going to be the continuing for this verse when I throw this out. Because this is going to be our Creator speaking. I didn't have him, I had him against him. Oh, this is Isaiah doing one of this when he's speaking about him. Okay, so now Israel do not know me. Maybe it is. Maybe one of these is wrong, and I'm going to recorrect it. And this is our Creator speaking. I'll have to take a look at that, but maybe that's wrong up here. Does not know me. Well, it's actually nobody knows our Creator. So to obey Him is what all life is about, is to obey our Creator. So those that obey Him will enter into heaven. This is part of His promises. And then this is going to be Jesus here. So now we have Jesus's people. But they aren't all good, so this is going to be a small letter here on the word people. And he's going to talk about why the way down with descendants of evildoers. Evildoers are those that are against our Creator. Okay, it's spreading from the nation of Israel, where they followed this Ra and his daughter, the moon goddess. So these are evil doers, because the commandments say that you're to obey our Creator and have no other before Him. So that makes them a sinner. But after they do this long enough, they're against our Creator. They become the evil ones. So now they're evil doers. And they have abandoned me and your Holy One. Continue your rebellion. Because this is a future and not being done at this time, because we're something like, what is this one map here? Not this one. Let me bring up King's timeline. Okay. We have to keep in perspective that we're talking, this is the end. So if it was happening now, then we have to be saying that this is going to happen now. But that isn't what the text actually speaks of right now. So here, I needed to make sure that it was to be done, that he's prophesying, and your cities will be burned. Because he's always going to give them time to turn back around. So be overtaken by strangers, which is pretty much foreigners. Now here the word priest is being used instead of rulers. If I go to the text and show you that there is no priest under the word rulers, it's leaders and things like that. I needed the word priest because down here in this text, they're making the sacrifices and then they're making the offering. The sacrifice is killing the animal and then cutting out the muscles, and then the offering is on the altar that the muscles are supposed to be burnt. So we know it has to be a priest here and here, okay? Now, this city being Solomon, let's see, or Sodom, here, this is not true. Um, that doesn't even exist anymore. That's way back in Abraham's time. We're maybe 1,000 years later here. So that doesn't exist. Neither does Gomorrah here. So those are being removed. In Judah, the priests in Judah, because this is where they make the sacrifices in the offering, or present their sacrifice and then the offering to atone for their sins. But he's telling them that because these priests are not following him correctly, they are becoming, let's see, he's requiring them to be very righteous. I had to add the word righteousness. Um, Righteousness is a higher degree of just um, uh, to the standard that the king is supposed to be, and the priests that are serving, they're supposed to follow all the commandments, all the rules, all the statutes, all the laws, and that makes you righteous. So the you can't use the secular word for righteous. You have to find all these answers within the text. So I have the priests are sinning for what they are sacrificing to him, requires uh, righteousness. So this is trampling of my courts. Well, it could probably be altars here, but I'm they're dishonoring him because um, they have to go into into his house to meet with him to ask for if he accepts that person's forgiveness. So I'm having the word dishonor here instead of trampling, and I'm using the word house instead of courtyard. Worthlessness, I needed to put it here because otherwise in that it's pointing out that the people themselves are making a worthless offerings, and that isn't true. Those are true Israelis still obeying our Creator by doing what He said to do. So it's the offerings that they have now made are worthless because they are no longer His. Full of sin and iniquity. I'm using the word sinful because this being against our Creator, like I said, is evilness, but it also is sin. So that sinful assemblies. Uh, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I don't know if I'm going to be using this verse. It's stuck out in the middle of these three. So I don't know if I'm going to be using this or not, but it could if it changes to 4 verse, but I don't think so. So I think this is going to be gone, or one of these are going to be gone in the long run. But these assemblies, now I hate your new moons. This would be referring to that they've changed our Creator's calendar from just a 7-day count starting from a summer solstice to now using the moon as their appointed times and their feasts that they would have at the new moon. They have become a burden to him. So they're changing what our Creator told them not to do. They're just not listening to him. Hid my eyes through prayer and not listen to. That's pretty simple. Doing evil, you do good. Okay. To reprove ruthlessness, um, they're supposed to rebuke the wicked. I've summed up or changed the word ruthless to wicked for the simple fact that wicked covers um, this word here. And rebuke is because you're supposed to speak out against them, not reprove, like try to correct them. If they rebuke them, that's a way to try to correct them because a rebuke is in front of people, okay? So to defend the orphan and plead for the widow. Now this text here, it's a 4 verses you see down here, but I didn't like it for the simple fact that it's pretty much got this doubleness of words here, and it's not like this here writing like this author would write. So got rid of that text here. Devoured by the sword. No, you get struck or killed by the sword. I could have used struck is say that they struck at him, but they only gash or wounded. So and then later dies. So this is kind of how I use the word struck or strike, either or. Um, Now his faithful city has become like a harlot. Now, this text, by saying this, is it going to be the still at the same king at the same time? Because really, let's see which king here do I want to bring up real quick here. This king right here that has 50 years, that's wrong here. He had started putting false gods in there, false altars. I think he had horse gods and things like that in there. So these type of things were done with this king, and this is really the punishment of why they're going to leave, because we first have our first completely evil king. So, but it's become like a harlot. So it's kind of like the priests are becoming evil. Some of the leaders and rulers and all the strangers in the land that aren't supposed to be there, they're now being allowed in there. But it was once filled, because I'm borrowing the word once from down here to make it these, what do I do? When I connect it, I try to make sure I have two words, faithful city, become harlot. You can see the word now, but that's not really as important as you see how I've got these, like this here. Everyone loves a bribe. I didn't correct that until later, but everyone is for a bribe, but anyways, I try to keep to the two words that as a format as much as possible. Um, and they weren't lodged there. The righteous ones they lived there, talking about in the past. It's not like they've become harlots. That Jerusalem was a really good place to live. They were all onto our Creator as hopefully the best they could be or can be. So um, now here the text is going to change, and we have the mighty one, which is pretty much Jesus. I don't like the title Mighty One. I don't know if I'm going to be changing that, but the object is that I left it here right now. Just want to note it when I'm talking here. And he will judge mine. Uh, I don't know if I'm using this correctly here or not. Meaning that they're his people, and those are the ones that he's going to judge his at this time. When he's on earth, he's judging the people, Israelis. So uh, maybe I changed that word. Maybe I didn't have to follow through on the text, because a lot of these, you're going to see me editing in the other text as I go forward too, after I start grouping them. After they will be called, it's a people of righteousness, not a city of righteousness, but people of righteousness. Even though that we're talking about the city up here, this is a different story. So, and it's not Zion. They they're trying to use the word Zion is um, the hill that Jerusalem was built on. That's not true. They try to give Zion as the name of the city, Jerusalem. That's not true. Mount Zion is in the north, far north, which is the stars motion make a mountain, and above the north stars where our Creator lives. There's a real good video below that talks about this. Yeah, if you notice, I'm missing a verse, so I added it because it's talking about the righteous ones. What is their reward is to live with Yah. So I don't know if I went over Yah a lot during, except for like the video about Yah. So let me see if I can bring this up. 51 times is mentioned Yah, and it is Jesus. And these verses here that I've got underlined kind of point out who he is. Okay, when I looked up the word, the title that they had for Lord, which is supposed to be YHVH, they used it here. I found the word Yah, and then when it's capital letters, it's supposed to mean this, so it is here. But this is one of the few times you're going to see this inconsistency of capitalizing both, and they're supposed to be, both of this is supposed to be YHVH. But here, when you start reading some of these and going through them, and this is just pretty much um, what I have in the video, in the land of the living. So it's our creator's not walking around. It's Yah's going to be uh, walking in the land of the living. So when you see the word capitalized as Lord, and you go and you check YHVH, and you see that it's listed so many times as these, well, it's actually used a few times as you're seeing as the title or his name Yah. So all these end up being my proof that the word Yah is Jesus. It's the name that they give him after David is told about the kingdom in heaven. Because at that time, you got to understand that um, our Creator's promises changed, and when it changed drastically, that this is the first time in all of his promises that people are going to live in heaven with our Creator, and Yah is going to be their king. It was very important that they're not in the abyss anymore. So you don't know that because you're not taught that. I'm telling you, this is the answer when you actually study the text and understand correcting each of the meanings of the word to what our Creator would define what these words are. A lot of times, here it's oaks, but they're making these idols out of them. Later, we're going to get into our Creator telling us that they made them from two different trees. So, um, trying to use the trees as a representation of part of their um, trickery to make it a god. Um, and this embarrassed by the garden for her. Now, later in the text, I don't know if I'll remember it later, but these gardens that they had for her had like a vine that would grow rapidly. Well, if you ever see pictures of the Vatican, there is a wall, and I mean, this wall's got to be 30 feet by probably maybe 50 feet, and this vine is all that you see in the background behind where the Pope is sitting. So they have this forever garden of that vine in the Vatican. So just for history's sake, you should know that. Um, okay, it's not house here. This is what's going to happen to the tribes um, for YV. Um, they're going to be reestablished on their hills. There is no mountain. Um, you got to watch this word that they're using it wrong. Um, so, and all has changed to descendants will return, not stream, but return. Right here. And then it's races, not just many peoples. People are different races will come, and this is speaking at Jesus's time, that they're going to come together there to figure out uh, how a male was walking around healing people and doing things that just have never ever again been done. Um, let's see here. And it's not the law, it's the promise that goes forth. Um, Jesus' promise. This is, uh, like I was just explaining, the big change in our Creator's promises. So his promise will go forth and his word. This is Jesus then talking about calling all people to him from all nations, um, to be unto our Creator as much as you can. And then you will be judged that way to enter into heaven. Um, not render, but he decided by his judgment, not by his decisions, but by his judgment. Um, I don't know if I could use the same word or not here. Let's see, Isaiah 2. I don't know if decision is judgment. Let's go to Isaiah 2 here. So just give me a second here. And yeah, it's on the screen here. And it's in verse 4. Render decisions. I don't see the word judgment here, but I like the word judgment because that's what he is supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be judging um, these decisions. In fact, see how up here, how it's got two of the same words. So this one is probably um, right here. This word right here when they got two of them together, and they used it twice this way. But I just want to click around because I've erased words out of here. I didn't know I could erase, and I don't want to do that. So that's what's being done here. They're using it twice this way because the words are together. But that's not, I like to decide by judgment, his judgment, because our Creator has given him that power to judge people to enter into heaven. It's the tribes of Israel, not Jacob, but don't need the word Jacob, just need tribes. We know who we're talking about. And as you walk by his light, not by the light of the Lord, um, this is strictly saying that Jesus is going to be like the light of the people to say he is the example we are supposed to follow. But right now, our Creator is going to abandon them because there's these diviners that are not soothsayers, but they're diviners. Um, and I use the word diviners. I could have used mankind uh, there, but I chose the word diviners this time. And it's not children, it's his nation again. The land is filled with these idol worshippers. Here's the word mankind being used, will be humbled, and males will be abased, which means actually they're lowered. I think, let's see. Let's see, what is this? Yeah, it talks about lowering. Yeah, see, I got it right this time. But you can see they used the word abased here, but it's made to be made lower. So I'm using the word lowered. Uh, splendor. Okay, let's take a look at the word splendor here. This is the end of 10. And we have majestic and splendor, but I want you to notice how we got majesty here. Excuse me, I'm trying to talk at the same time, so I do say my words wrong sometime, but I think I'm saying them right. Sorry about that. Um, you can see that it's being used here, and then all of a sudden it's being used here again. In fact, more here than in here, and that's unique. Over here, it's more pride. So you could almost, well, they're so confusing in what's going on here at the text when you really see those types of things. But here, um, even though they're two different words, I like glory because this is what Jesus is about, why he is being glorified by our Creator to be able to do these miracles for us at that time, in his righteousness, his obeying our Creator, or our Creator. And again, a base is lowered. Okay, I have another 10 minutes yet here. Okay, here's how they would take bones and throw them on the ground. Then, sorry about that, but I think I have it set up so it cancels that. But wow. Anyways, it's when they cast these bones on the ground, but actually they're predicting from which way they lay and which bones are together and things like that. Um, but it's just part of their trickery. It's falseness of being able to predict. But I didn't like the word cast, but to predict by the bones, the moles and bat. Because what are you doing when you're casting and looking? You're predicting what's going to happen to the people on that display of bones being dropped. Here, the title that they're using here, the word is Lord. And when you look it up, it is Lord, but I needed to change it. No, see here, they had all capital letters. So yes, I'm using YV here. And they had it right here as a little letter, Lord. I changed the word from judges to leaders because these are a group of people that are going to be this actually is speaking about going to remove them from Jerusalem and Judah. Um, and it's by no support of no supply of bread or supply of water. Yes, this did happen, but would this prophecy exist at this time? Like I said, some of these are going to be reading out of order. And when I put these verses together, three verses together, and put as many that sounded like that's how they broke these up from what they broke apart. Um, you can see that this is talking about way in the future. So, but at this time, like I said, we're talking about Israel being broke up at this time, not Judah. So anything related to Judah and Jerusalem is way too far off. Like I said, this might be that evil kingdom at 50 years, which I have that pointed to. And it's going to be their warriors, leaders, and elders. Um, and it's going to be those crafty enchanters. Now, I could have changed enchanters to diviners, but they aren't skillful at all. They're crafty. They're trickery, is what I would use here, but I couldn't use the word trickery. So crafty means they are deceiving type of people. What's going on? Um, let's see here. Hold to tell, not lays hold, but will tell their brother to be ruler over the ruins, and you'll be under, and will be under your rule. That day he will protest, saying, "We will not be your ruler." Both appointed you as a ruler. So I'm using the word instead of healer, using the word ruler from here, putting up here, trying to keep the consistency of these formats. Wording to be grouped as more truthful. See here it is, Judah has stumbled. And they're not a ruler later. We've learned in Jeremiah that they're called a governor is set up or is appointed. Um, uh, is against. This is talking in the future, so it will be against actions. I didn't want to use that word because I already have two main words here. These two are the main words I'm using for this verse, but the word will does cover the word actions. So um, just pointing that out. Um, and that's going to bring his evilness upon them. Um, and he's going to judge the elders at that time. So now we're talking, is this really farther in the future? But when putting the text together, it'll make more sense because it's hard to see the format. Right now, I'm bringing out the formats the best I can. Here, even their daughters, these people that are onto this practice of the female goddess, well, they like to dress up a little bit. So even their daughters walked with their heads held high, and they walked with steps to tingle the crescent bracelets on their ankles. Now, if I didn't put the word crescent in here, it wouldn't tinkle. So now you know that it's a bracelet, that it's tinkling on their ankles. So the object is I know that the word crescent will pop up down here. It is so ornaments, but actually they're crescent moons. They just You just have to understand that I'm bringing this word forward. I should have had this yellow, I guess. Yellow from here and yellow to here. Whoops. Let's put this green and put just like yellow to reference it for the future. Um, Again, the word Lord was correct. Take away is the word, simple word is remove. Um, Anklets, but they're actually bracelets. Now, here our Creator is speaking to women not to, um, you don't need these things. He likes people to live as He created them. So women go overboard where you can see that they're wearing veils, headdresses, chains, and sashes, and even nose rings. Piercings and um, tattoos are all not acceptable by our Creator. He created us. This is what He wants us to live as. So we are to accept that and move on. But right now, He's condemning them that do this. So if you ever see, well, let me get to here. Um, Not donning, but wearing of sackcloth. Sackcloth is old clothing, but here you're supposed to be wearing hides. Now, this is the traditional clothing of Israelis. The true Israelis, those that are being onto our Creator, as their forefathers did, and just as natural, didn't need the makeup, didn't need the other things to beautify yourself, or you think you're beautifying. Our Creator says, I made you, you're perfect, accept that. But here, um, if you ever watch these movies, stories of Jesus' time, they've got it wrong. The Israelis that are following him are supposed to be wearing these white clothing. So there would be all these people in white clothing, okay, white hides. Ram hides and goat hides are white. So that's what people would have been when they were walking around back in that day. The true Israeli could be spotted. Like today, many different religions have you wearing different things. Um, and our Creator kept you natural or wants you to be not natural. That's not the word. It's a pagan word. Sorry about that. Wants you to be as He created you, and and without their jewelry as well. and then it's going to, and you can see how quickly changes that this text reads out of place from this text, but it's a format. And then the army is going to fall at that time. Closed to hides again. Now here, the word branch is being used wrong. Now I understand when they're talking about David, whose son is going to be Jesus. Yes, that would be a branch of a lineage from one male. But the object is, it's a sprout that he's going to come up on his own. As we know that the year of our Lord means only the 1 year, this last year is when he's performing all his miracles to say, I am your king, but I have lived with you and understand your way of life. And I'm here calling you to me, to my kingdom. It's Jesus's gospel. Gospel is Jesus, not the Mark, Matthew. Jesus's gospel is his teaching of his kingdom. When you look at his kingdom, there's no text except for saying he is going to be the king. So this, I have it as a sprout, like a growing up before him. If I can think of a better word, I will change that later. Whoops, I'm past the time, and we'll go to chapter 5 here in a bit. But I hope I didn't make too many errors.